Dr. Chibber for inviting me here. Thank you, Harsh. And I'd like to welcome all of you here this evening. Today happens to be the 11th of September, so I'd like to start by paying homage to all the people who died on this day and all the people who lost loved ones. We stand with them today in their memory. As a politician, we get to go to many places and listen to many different people. And I'm going to start today by telling you a little story. Many years ago, you'd remember that there was a huge tsunami that came to India. And it hit the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And one of the things that we were doing at the time was trying to send aid to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And I was looking at a list of people who had died. And there's many communities who live on the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And I noticed in the list that there were absolutely no tribal people who had died. So I asked some of the people there, I said, listen, how has this happened? I said, there's many people who've died. There's lots of tribals living in Andaman and Nicobar, but I don't see a single tribal person who's died in this tsunami. What happened? So then one of the people there told me, they said, you know, Mr. Gandhi, when a tsunami comes, the sea goes out. And when the sea goes out, huge numbers of fish are left stranded. And he said the tribals, they knew that when a tsunami goes out, when the tsunami comes in, just prior to it, the sea goes out. Whereas the non-tribals didn't know this. And when the tsunami came, the sea went out, all the non-tribals ran to get the fish. And all the tribals ran into the hills. And some of the tribals told the non-tribals that, don't go there. You're going to get killed. But they didn't listen. They ran into the sea. And that's why no tribals died. And as a liberal today, that's exactly how I feel. Everybody knows that something has gone very wrong in the system. And the right-wing politicians are saying, go there and pick up the fish. And people are sort of looking at the simple answers. They're looking at the simple answers, but you're not going to get a result from the simple answers. And one of the reasons I've come here, and this is a tremendous institution, but this institution believes in a liberal ideology. It believes in discussion. It believes in listening to people. It believes in conversations. And you have a tremendous history, and I respect that history. As you, Mr. Chibber, said, my great-grandfather came here and gave a speech. So I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm going to speak for about 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to have a conversation. You can ask me all the questions you'd like. India is a massive country. It is also one of the world's most complex countries. Every time you think you've understood India, she will reveal something new to you. In fact, I would venture to say, anyone who thinks he understands India is a fool. According to most Western academics and intelligence agencies in the middle of the last century, India was supposed to fail. We are 29 states, covering every religion in the world. We have 17 official languages and hundreds of different dialects. and a terrain that runs from the Himalayas all the way to the desert. Most of these experts didn't expect India to survive. They predicted it would fall apart, torn to pieces by its own diversity and contradictions. And yet somehow, as Indira Gandhi said when asked whether India leans left or right, India came out standing straight and tall. The idea of non-violence, or ahimsa, as we call it in India, is what has allowed this huge mass of people to rise up together. Uniting India's religions, castes, and languages would simply be impossible without it. It is this idea that Mahatma Gandhi fashioned into a powerful but beautiful political weapon. The common conception in the West is that people have ideas. You all say, I have an idea. But there's an alternative way of looking at the world. The counterintuitive notion that instead of people having ideas, that ideas have people. So instead of I have an idea has me. This notion is the basis of ahimsa or non-violence as taught by Gandhi. If one accepts the notion that ideas capture people, then the only possible response to a person infected by a bad idea, any person, is love and compassion. The only action you can take against him is to try and rid him of the bad idea and replace it with a good one. Using violence against a person who is infected by a bad idea actually results in the idea spreading more aggressively, multiplying among the people who care for him and love him. This non-violent philosophy in action has traveled far beyond India. Non-violence is not inaction, Cesar Chavez said. It is not discussion. It is not for the timid and weak. Non-violence is hard work. It is this very idea, this beautiful struggle, that is viciously under attack in India today. But it is also the only idea on which humanity can survive the connectivity of the 21st century and come out unscathed stronger. The road traveled by India since independence has been difficult and filled with formidable obstacles. Our partition was the bloodiest migration in recorded history. At independence, most of our 400 million people were hungry. Yet the achievements of India have been significant. Increasing literacy, expanding healthcare, and raising life expectancy, all within a generation. Achieving self-sufficiency in food grains, averting famine, pushing huge advances in science and technology, even being a front-runner in the field of computer technology. When Mr. Rajiv Gandhi and my dear friend Sam Pitroda, who's sitting here, spoke about bringing the computer to India, there were voices that ridiculed them. In fact, a leader of the BJP who became Prime Minister later asked the question, what does India need computers for? Why do we need computers? Imagine that. When India built the IITs, the entire world, including many in India, were highly critical of the idea that a poor country should waste money on such technical institutions. They reacted to us with skepticism, wondering why a country like ours would need such institutions. Today, these IITs and other higher education institutions in India play a central role in Silicon Valley and the global progress of technology. And yet, look at us today. We are rightly proud. We have done that and more, lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. For everything everyone says about India, there is no democratic country in human history, and I'll repeat that, there is no democratic country in human history that has raised as many people out of poverty as India has. It has never been done. And we have not done it with violence. We've not done it by killing people. We have done it peacefully together. For the first time in our history, India, if it is steered correctly and faithfully, has the opportunity to wipe out poverty. If India is able to lift another 350 million people out of poverty by 2030, it would be an achievement of which the human race can be proud. Doing this will require us to grow at more than 8% over the next 13 years. India has done it before and can do it again. But it is imperative that India sustain a high growth rate for an uninterrupted period of 10 to 15 years in order to do so. At the heart of this powerful engine that India has built with its blood, sweat, and bare hands since 1947 are jobs and economic growth. No amount of growth is enough for India if it is not accompanied by the creation of jobs. It doesn't matter how fast you grow. If you're not creating jobs, you're not actually solving the problem. So the central challenge for India is jobs. Roughly 12 million young people, 12 million, enter the Indian job market every year. Nearly 90% of them have a high school education or less. India is a democratic country, and unlike China, it has to create jobs in a democratic environment. India does not have, and nor does it want, China's coercive instruments. We cannot follow their model of massive factories controlled by fear. Jobs in India are going to come instead from small and medium scale industry. India needs to turn colossal numbers of small and medium businesses into international companies. Currently, all the attention in India is paid to the top 100 companies. Everything is geared towards them. Banking systems are monopolized by them. The doors of government are always open to them, and laws are shaped by them. Meanwhile, entrepreneurs running small and medium businesses struggle to get bank loans. They have no protection and no support. Yet these small and medium businesses are the bedrock of India and the world's innovation. Big businesses can easily manage the unpredictability of India. They're protected by their deep, deep pockets and connections. But the real innovative strength of India lies with the millions of small firms and young entrepreneurs that run them. And they're relying on us to build the financial, communication, and political infrastructure that would allow them to turn their skills into global businesses. Healthcare in the 21st century is being revolutionized. Today, a doctor examines you, analyzes your data, and tells you what's wrong with you. All this is based on his memory. When he retires, that information is lost. Tomorrow, all the medical data is going to be digitized and accessible on computers. Two factors will determine competitiveness in healthcare. First, the type and volume of different medical processes and procedures that are taking place in a country. And second, the genetic diversity of your population. India's size will give it huge advantages. The sheer fact that India performs millions of cataract operations or heart surgeries a year, for example, means we are going to be the best at doing them. But much more important than scale will be India's rich genetic diversity. Thousands of years of cross-culturalism means that India has the world's most genetically diverse population. If medical processes are going to be based on DNA, then India's diversity is going to be a huge global asset. So if you're looking at medical processes in the 21st century, by far the best opportunities for groundbreaking research and innovation will be in India. It is imperative that we start thinking about these systems now, and while addressing the critical concerns of privacy and ownership before they arise. Done properly, this can transform India's healthcare system, and while at the same time, help the world beyond our borders. India has triggered a massive process of human transformation. The nature of India's transformation has now reached a stage where its momentum is so powerful that our failure is no longer an option. Our success impacts the world, But should our country fail, it will shake the entire world. What India is trying to do is to connect 1.3 billion people into the global economy with minimum disruption possible in a peaceful and compassionate way. But don't be confused. If this process breaks down, the potential for violence is massive. I've given you the positives. So before I end, I need to tell you what can go dangerously wrong. Our strength so far has been that we have done all this peacefully. What can destroy our momentum is the opposite energy: hatred, anger, and violence, and the politics of polarization, which has raised its ugly head in India today. Violence and hatred distract people from the task at hand. Liberal journalists being shot, people being lynched because they are Dalits, Muslims killed on suspicion of eating beef. This is new in India and damages India very badly. The politics of hate divides and polarizes India, making millions of people feel that they have no future in their own country. In today's connected world, this is extremely dangerous. It isolates people and makes them vulnerable to radical ideas. Finally, listening to India is very important. She will give you all the answers that you seek. India's institutions have over 70 years built a profound understanding of our country. We have experts in every single field. Ignoring India's tremendous institutional knowledge and taking ad hoc decisions is reckless and dangerous. Decisions like demonetization, which removed 86% of cash from circulation overnight and was carried out unilaterally without asking the chief economic advisor, the cabinet, or even parliament, imposes a devastating cost on India. Currently, we are not producing enough jobs. 30,000 new youngsters are joining the job market every single day. 30,000. And yet, the government is only creating 500 jobs a day. And this does not include the massive pool of already unemployed youngsters. The decline in economic growth today is worrying and is leading to an upsurge of anger in the country. The government's economic policies, demonetization, and a hastily applied GST have caused tremendous damage. Millions of small businesses were simply wiped out as a result of demonetization. Farmers and manual laborers who use cash were hit extremely hard. Agriculture is in deep distress, and farmer suicides have skyrocketed across the country. Demonetization, a completely self-inflicted wound, caused approximately 2% loss in India's GDP. India cannot afford to grow and create jobs at the current rate. If we continue at the current rate, if India cannot give the millions of people entering the job market employment, anger will increase, and it has the potential to derail what has been built so far. That will be catastrophic for India and the world beyond it. Thank you. Thank you.